Hey folks, they're cleaning up some leaves right outside our window. Hopefully you can hear me okay. The leaf blower out there is not causing too much distraction. It's distracting me. This is the third time I've tried to make this video. So keep your fingers crossed I make this clear. We're dealing with polynomials in section 1, chapter 4. A polynomial is, at least a polynomial in one variable, okay, is a function that has a bunch of terms. So like here's a term, here's a term, here's a bunch of terms that are leaving out. And so it can have a lot of different terms, but here are some of the requirements. N needs to be a positive number, or at least 0 or a positive number, and it's got to be an integer. So what does that mean? Like we could have 0, 1, 2, 3, dot, dot, dot. That's the exponent. The exponent has to be one of those kind of numbers. It can't be like 0.5 for the exponent, or it can't be a -3 for the exponent, okay? So look at this right here. Exponent's +3. Exponent's +2. Exponent is a 0. That's fine. X to the 0. Anything to the 0 is 1. I don't know if you remember that or not, but like 5 to the 0, that equals 1. X to the 0, that's equal to 1. So that's why they include 0 as a possible exponent. Here's x to the 0. That's just equal to 1. Okay? So this thing is meeting the requirements for the exponents. The coefficients can be any number right out here. So the 5 is a coefficient. The -1/4 is a coefficient. The -9 is just a coefficient. It's actually the -9 I would call it just the constant. But yeah, so coefficient's kind of a word that's going to pop up over and over again, and it's the number that's in front of the x, right? In front of the variable. So this polynomial right here, I'd call it a trinomial because it has 3 terms. And I would say the degree is 3. You want the highest exponent. That's the degree. So the degree equals 3. Okay, so notice how they say n is the degree, and they've got the n over here as the first term. It's the highest power, though. Like if you put this in standard position, you go the highest power for the first term right over here, and then you would go smaller number until you get to x to the 0, and then you would stop, right? Because you can't have an x to the -1 or a -2. This is what a polynomial is, all right? Let's look for one that's not a polynomial in these ones up here. This guy right here is not a polynomial. Why not? Because the square root of x is the same thing as x to the 1/2 power. So this is no, not a polynomial. This was yes, it is a polynomial, okay? And the degree was 3. Let's go for this one right here. This one has an exponent of 1. This one has exponent of 0. This one has an exponent of 4. Okay, this one is a polynomial, so it's a yes. And then the degree is the highest power. And so there's the highest power right there. So the degree is 4. So if they ask us to write it in the correct, order, you would do something like -3x to the 4th plus x plus 2, right? So I've tried to reorder these guys so that it goes from the highest power to the lowest power. I hope I'm making that clear. All right. On letter D, it's not a polynomial because there's stuff in the denominator. You can't be dividing by an x. Okay, so this is a big fat no. You can only have multiplication, addition, and subtraction going on. So you see how we've got like 5 times x times x times x here, and then we got -1/4 times x, and then -9. Over here we have the wrong power, the wrong exponent. Over here we got some division going on. So this is like a definite no. All right, let's look at E. Oh, this one's a little tricky. So it's 8 over here. That's 8 times x to the 0 power. So this is yes, this is a polynomial. It's called a monomial, has only one term, but it's still a polynomial. Polynomial is kind of like the umbrella term. It could have 50 terms, it could have one term. It's still a polynomial in that situation. This one looks a little, what's going on here? Well, if I distribute the 2x cubed, or the -2x cubed, I end up with -2x to the 4th plus 2. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on one second. What did I not notice? We can't just start distributing that. I didn't notice this squared right over here. So we got to deal with that guy first. So I get 2x cubed. X minus 1 squared is going to look like this. X squared minus 2x plus 1, right? X minus 1 squared is the same thing as x minus 1 times x minus 1. And we're distributing everything through, of course. And I've showed you guys this shortcut to get the middle term a bunch of times. So hopefully you remember that. If you've forgotten it, go ahead and distribute all this. You're going to see it equals that. Now we can distribute the negative 2x cubed through, and we get negative 2x to the 5th power plus 4x to the 4th power, and then we get minus 2x cubed. Okay, so it is in the correct order. Here's the highest power, the highest exponent, okay, equals 5, which means it's the degree of the polynomial. So the degree is the highest exponent. And then if they ask for the leading coefficient is the number that's in front of the exponent of the variable with the highest exponent, right? So it's where you found the degree. The degree was 5. There is the leading coefficient. So it's the one that's in front if the polynomial is written from highest power to lowest power, right? So this is called the leading coefficient. And we just said that's equal to negative 2. All right. I hope I'm making this sound kind of easy and some of it's coming back in your memory on how this stuff works. Okay. All right. So you got a bunch of questions like that. Is it a polynomial or not? And then let's talk about basic transformations. And the two that the author is going to have you think about, the two polynomials that he wants you to know, is x to the 4th. Now, why doesn't he do x squared? Well, because we've dealt with x squared a lot. And I think he just thought, well, let's introduce a new one. It looks just like x squared, right? It's an even function. I can reflect it over the y-axis. It lands on top of itself. And they want us to know x to the 5th power. X to the 5th looks just like x cubed, the same shape. Okay, so you can't really tell the difference if I don't put any scale on my axes, or if I don't put down some particular numbers. You wouldn't know the difference between x squared and x to the 4th and x to the 5th and x cubed, right? So these are the two that he wants us to deal with. And then let me give you an example of the transformation they're going to ask you about. Let's say they had like y equals x plus 3 to the 4th power minus 1. Okay, so, well, I got to know that I'm dealing with the x to the 4th function. That's this guy right over here, kind of like parabola looking shape. Plus 3 is going to speed everything up. Everything's going to happen 3 sooner than it would normally happen. So instead of kind of like the vertex happening at the origin, it's going to happen over here at negative 3, right? So you make sure you moved it back to the left 3, right? So this thing right here moves it left 3, and then the minus 1 moves it down 1. So I'm going to move it down 1, and then I'm going to try and show that I know what x to the 4th looks like, right? So those are the kind of questions in the second half of our homework that you're going to be asked about. I think we've dealt with transformations, well in the past. So hopefully this part is not going to be a struggle for us. All right. Good luck on your homework. Thanks for watching my video.